Well, yesterday, Dr. Fauci predicted that the COVID-19 vaccine will be, quote, open season to everyone by April. This is before President Biden finalized deals to buy 200 million more COVID-19 vaccine doses from Pfizer and Moderna by the end of July. This is good news for many, but should we consider this a sign that we can get back to some sense of normalcy by the end of the year? Joining me now with more on this is immunotherapy scientist Dr. Leo Nisala. Good morning to you, Dr. Nisala. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Of course. So I want you to break this down for us. What does this good news mean and what does it not mean?
Well, it's good news indeed. COVID-19 vaccination rates are picking up. And I believe in the coming months, we're going to start seeing the agency releasing the red tape around this vaccine, especially with J&J's vaccine coming to market. Before, in the beginning of the vaccination campaign, we were worried about the supply chain challenge. And with one more player entering the market, makes us feel more confident that we'll be able to make sure that this vaccine is available for most U.S. adults in the coming months. Still, I am concerned about vaccine hesitancy.
Yeah, I do want to ask you about that a little later. But as far as infrastructure, we are seeing a lot more infrastructure being put in place. Supply is still an issue, but at least there will be something there in terms of streamlining this process once supply meets demand. My question, though, here is this news is coming as the UK and South African variants have reached our shores, even here in D.C., and vaccine companies are scrambling to come up with boosters. Will we be still playing a game of catch-up, right, by the time the summertime comes and even further out?
It's complicated because viruses tend to mutate. And when we still have new novel infections at the same time that we are pressure testing this virus by giving it antibody treatments, by giving it immunotherapy, by giving it vaccines, and still having novel infections, we will start seeing new variants, unfortunately. So the sooner we get to the mass vaccination rates that we are looking forward to, the easiest will be for us to get out of this crisis and into normalcy again. Still, I do think that we will need to prepare and have some vaccines ready for those booster shots, should we need them by the end of the year.
Now, you talked about vaccine hesitancy and some people who are just concerned about how safe it is. Given that, how close to normal will things be by the end of the year, right? Are we talking everyone back to work and school, or even as far as packed sports arenas, for example?
It's very hard to predict, but I do hope that we can get our kids to school as soon as possible. I think working parents are overburdened, and kids deserve to go back to school. I think our teachers are also ready. We just need to vaccinate them first.
Yeah. Can you elaborate? I know we mentioned before there's this race against time, especially when we talk about these variants. So it's also not so much a matter of getting to a sense of normalcy for convenience sake, but it's getting as many people vaccinated as possible, reaching that possible 80% immunity in order to get ahead of the virus. Can you elaborate on that?
Definitely. I think it's important for folks to understand that we're going to need at least 75% of the U.S. population to get vaccinated in order for us to feel safe again. And I think that's an important point. You see, there are over 500,000 U.S. primary doctors that are ready to help on this vaccine distribution challenge, and they're still not being able to do so. So I think the vaccination campaign that we need to focus on right now includes making this vaccine available for folks in their own area, being able to get this vaccine at their pharmacy, at their local doctor, to make sure that we can get everyone on board. You see, vaccine hesitancy is a challenge not only on communities that have been hit the hardest, but also in folks that do not have access to accurate information, that they are not literate. Tech literacy is also a challenge, even in states like California. So making sure that these vaccines are available at their local doctor, their local pharmacy will help address some of these concerns too. Yeah. I think we are all ready for life to go back to normal. But first, I think that there's a lot of education to be done around vaccine safety.
Yeah, we're seeing local officials enlist the help of churches and local pharmacies as well to accomplish that goal. My last question here for the last 45 seconds that we have. When we look back on this pandemic from a medical perspective, once we're past it, right, so post-pandemic, what do you think we will have learned, or at least should have learned?
I think one thing that I hope we all learn is that we all rely on each other all the time, even though we may not know it. So when we ask someone to wear a mask in public, it's not because we want to make them feel bad or feel uncomfortable. It's because we want to make sure that we are all safe. I lost a loved one to COVID, so for me, this fight against this virus is personal, and I invite everyone to join in this fight so we can go back to normal and make sure that people are not dying anymore.
Yeah,
it's terrifying.
Absolutely, and I'm sorry for your loss. I know so many of us have either lost someone or know someone who lost someone, and hopefully we will have learned a lot once we come out of this. All right, immunotherapy scientist Dr. Leo Nicolet, thank you so much for talking to us this morning. Appreciate the insight.
Thanks for having me.
Of course.